All right, economics, last topic for the day today. Inflation was what we just wrapped up with. So we are moving on to poverty, how it's measured, how it basically affects the economy, and why it's so significant or important. I'm going to get rid of my face here, let you know that I'm still here, but this is basically where our discussion picks up. Now, I think in discussing poor kids and discussing some of the other things that you saw before the break, we may have mentioned stats on child poverty. So some of this may look familiar. Um, Basically, when you compare the United States, which is the most or one of the most developed and industrially sound countries in the world, it's rather surprising to see child poverty rates put us in the neighborhood of Latvia and Romania, as you guys can see in this chart right here. If you're looking at this ranking, it's almost a 22% child poverty rate. That's almost like a 1 in 5 situation here in the US. It's just unusual to see the US show up in those stats like that. So this is definitely a problem, even though you may not feel like you're going to be touched by it. You'd be surprised to find that college-aged kids are also affected by this too. So you need to know the policies and the standards that it raises or represents. But looking at this nationally, you can see the color key there codes the states that are more challenged by the issue of child poverty than others. My home state of Mississippi there showing up pretty dark. It is a problem. Breaking it down for market centers all over the U.S., there's only a few spots that are bright here in Texas. So this is more of a problem than most of us would like to admit to. We have a large number of people. If you saw the video earlier, the people sitting at the back of the room, if they are your market and they can't afford to buy anything, then you have a serious problem on your hands, even as a one percenter. So looking at this issue by race, it sounds like sometimes that I'm critical of earning profit and I'm anti-wealth, but that's not the case at all. It's just if you're doing exactly the same thing as someone at the front of the room, but you're not getting the results, and it happens over and over and over and over again every time you try, I think you can understand by looking at this issue, it can be debilitating. It can be, it can put us in a situation where we see some civil strife. If you look at these places like McAllen, Texas, or Jackson, Mississippi, in my home state, there are some real challenges that you look at here that have to do with race and the whole issue. So having said that, I want to get to some of the basic definitions. The poverty threshold, guys, is just a dollar amount, and it's set for a single, parent families. It's set for two earner households. The Census Bureau basically sets the poverty rate. And when you fall below that, so that changes every time we take the census. But the reasons for poverty in your textbook have to do with education. One that I want to point out just verbally is resource immobility. If you're not able to move where the resources are, or you're not able to take your family and go to where the jobs are, that can be a problem that kind of lends itself to creating more poverty. Obviously, education. If you don't want to be touched by this issue, that is your ticket out of the problem. And I'll show you here in just a second why. But income inequality is a topic that's being discussed and has been discussed since the 1970s, when we start to see wages flatten out compared to the growth rates of the rest of the economy. So we're going to talk about how we define income inequality and how we use the Lorenz curve to examine it. So more on that in a second. The anti-poverty policies in your textbook, one of them is temporary assistance for needy families. That is what welfare has been changed to since the era of the first President Clinton. Basically, we now have a limited time frame for people to be on welfare. It's very much like unemployment benefits, which last about 18 months. Without significant action from Congress, your benefits expire after that temporary time period. So the idea that you can live on welfare in the United States, that's actually a misnomer. That's not the truth. That's not the situation anymore. So just be aware of the other anti-poverty policies that are there, in-kind benefits. There's a lot in your textbook that you'll probably get come into contact with as you do the homework for this section. So in your notes, you have a page here that shows you the Lorenz curve, and I'm going to try to use my cursor to highlight a couple of things here, guys. We take all the income in the country, 100% of it, and stack it up from 0 to 100. If we then take the population and put 0 to 100 along the bottom, we could cut that into fourths or fifths. So we could be talking quartiles or quintiles, whichever one. Basically, what would happen with equal distribution is a diagonal line that separates the two, right? Now, I'm not saying that's what we want, but it gives us a way to kind of talk about what's happening in reality when we look at a curve like the one that you see on the screen. If we had equal distribution, then we basically would have a different market system known as communism, right? Where you basically have equal amounts spread all across the population. There needs to be a little inequality in order to provide the incentive, but my point is that this problem has gotten worse in the years that we've been watching it. You're looking at this graph right here. There's 5% of the population, the first quarter percent of the population shares 5% of national income. When you look at the other spectrum, this 25% gets 70% of all national income. And the problem hasn't gotten better, it's gotten worse. So this is where we get the phrase, the hollowing out of the middle class. If that curve gets farther and farther and farther to the right, then you can see we're only going to have two classes, the haves and the have-nots. So that doesn't do very much for that 70% of consumption, and that means a challenge for our economy in the future. If you take a look at this graphic from Duke University and the Harvard Business School, these guys got together and tried to quantify income inequality in the U.S. The middle graph shows you what Americans actually think it's like, and it shows what we kind of know to be true. What they would like it to be is on the bottom, a little bit more evenly distributed, but look at what it actually is. I don't know how on earth it can be so weighted heavily to the top and you still have a healthy economy. The problem is these guys don't consume enough capital or goods and services. They don't buy as much as they take. And that shows up as diminished GDP later on. So it can be a real problem. If you're taking a look at this over time, say 1967 to 2011, just look and see what happens to the top 5%. And while those numbers look small, take a look at what happens to the lowest quintile. Those drop and go the other direction. These drop for second quintile. These drop for third. Fourth quintiles, not nearly as dramatic, but still a drop. The highest quintile, the highest 25% are the only ones who've benefited over, say, the last 40 years. And that is really frustrating for hardworking Americans. If you look at 1980 versus 2011, this proves the point that it's not gotten better, that it's actually gotten worse. So unfortunately, this is still a problem today, and it's one that we inherit moving forward. All right, so I have a short video for you here that just kind of sums up what we've talked about in relation to income inequality. Take a short look, and we'll pick up right after this.
What's the problem with the economy? Let me connect the dots and show you the big picture in less than 2 minutes, 15 seconds. Dot 1. Since 1980, the American economy has doubled in size. But adjusting for inflation, most people's wages have barely increased. Second dot. Where did all that money go? Almost all the gains have gone to the super rich. The top 1% used to take home about 10% of total income. Now it takes home more than 20%. And the super rich have 40% of the nation's entire wealth. The third dot. All this money at the top has given the super rich lots of political power, especially power to lower their tax rates. Before 1980, the top tax rate was over 70%. Now it's down to 35%. And much of their income is capital gains, subject to only a 15% tax. According to the IRS, the richest 400 Americans pay only 17%. Fourth dot. This means huge budget deficits. Tax revenues are down to less than 15% of the total economy, the lowest in 60 years. So public services are being cut at all levels of government. Our kids are being crowded into classrooms with more and more other children. Roads, bridges, levees, healthcare, safety nets, they're all being sacrificed. The fifth dot. Instead of joining together for better wages and jobs, many people are so scared that they're competing with other working people for the scraps that are left behind. So we get union versus non-union, public employee versus private, native-born versus immigrants. Final dot. The vast middle class, unable to borrow as it could before, no longer has the purchasing power needed to get the economy growing again, which means continued high unemployment and an anemic recovery. So you see the big picture? The only way we can have a strong economy is with a strong middle class.
All right, so guys, basically that sums up what has been happening over the last several decades, and you can see that is the case here if we're looking at this index that shows growth in output over that same time. This is what's happened to wages during that time, and if you adjust them for inflation, wages have been flat. So it's kind of a sad thing. Americans are producing more and more stuff, but they're not benefiting from the gains of that output. Most of that is being redirected to the top of the picture. So how do you avoid that? Or how do you avoid being part of that lowest or second or middle fifth? I think you're going to see from this chart, it's all about education. If you guys look, they have income thresholds for qualifying to fit in those little sections. Earners per household, you can see. Marital status, age of household, work status. You can see the likelihood of ending up in either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those quintiles. Now, at the bottom, if you have a bachelor's degree or more, these are the odds of you ending up in the bottom. Take a look. If you have a bachelor's degree or more, it's 70% chance that you will be in the upper part of the spectrum. So that's my plug to get to those classes and make sure you're insulating yourself from what other people are experiencing in the broader economy. Keep in mind, if you just focus on what you're doing and trying to insulate your gains, secure your gains, then you're forgetting these guys are going to be your market people. You've got to do something basically to meet their needs. Otherwise, we're going to have a continually weak market. Okay. So that's the end of the PowerPoint. I wanted to show you basically some website information from the BLS.gov, just to give you an update of where we've been and what we're looking at now. Let's see here. Okay. I am looking for their update on, let's see, I think it's up here at the top. Let's say unemployment. And local area, no, we want national unemployment. There we go. Okay. The unemployment rates, a data series they predict. Here we go. This is what we've been seeing essentially for the last, say, 8 years or so. And this is going to get a significant update given our situation with the coronavirus scare. You can see we haven't had challenges with unemployment since, when was the last time it was over 6? Way back here in 2014. So pretty negative since 2008, but it took a long time to recover from the Great Recession. But you can see for yourself, we've not been talking about job rates and job growth here lately. So let's talk about inflation. Okay, CPI inflation index summary. This is going to be a report. I don't want that. Let's go back. Let's see, CPI home. There we go. Okay. So latest number CPI right now, you guys can see We're not incredibly concerned. It's at 0.1%. I would be worried more about deflation at the moment. This is what we've been experiencing. Can you guys just check with me? Inflation's not been a problem, has it? Right? So these are all fractions. Ooh, if you see negative numbers, that's where you see deflation occurring. So we have had some instances where that occurred. Ultimately, if we want to look back to, say, 2007, let's see how that changes our picture. Yeah, you see the big deflationary cycle that we saw in 2009. So these numbers really do have impacts when they change. You see changes on Wall Street. So I wanted you to know where to go to find more information from the BLS.gov. Okay. Now you should be ready to do the homework. We've talked about all the terms and key ideas. So if you have questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'm going to leave some how-to notes on some of your assignments so that you can get these done a little bit more efficiently. Okay. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day.